Oh, yeah. Hello, wonderful world out there. We got a special one for you today. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time. We got Kellen Hall in Hawaii. We got Gwen, who's in Idaho. Everybody's on board for a special chat about fear, don't give up, motivation, inspiration, learning things. And we just wanted to say thank you, Kellen Hall, for being on the show today. Kellen's an
Pleasure.
incredible instructor, waterman, literally a guy that can do it all and is now really progressing in wing foiling as well as Gwen. It's been a pretty exciting month where these two have been landing backflips and flockas and handle passes and you name it. And we're here to kind of share some light on what goes through your brain when you're trying to overcome these things, not to mention maybe going in depth on some of these things because some of us are sitting here in Florida going, dang it, they're doing backflips.
You guys
So-
got no win.
Let's get right to it because this is fun. First off, everybody, happy Thursday. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Here we go. So recently, Gwen landed his backflip, which has just been such a dream and such a cool thing, and just so pumped for you, Gwen. And literally the same moment, I believe, he landed the flips, Kellen here shoots me a video on Instagram, and it's like a GoPro view. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And he's just full backflip and landing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like everybody's doing backflips right now. So I just wanted to say, awesome, guys. So pumped for you guys. And let's get into this. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, so we were in Hood River together, and I think maybe a good place to start is like, Kellen, like, share with us like what led to coming to Hood River with the intention, that was your intention. I want to be learning the backflip this summer, and you kind of like fully committed.
Yes.
But prior to that, like, when did you start wing foiling? And then that journey to like being to that point where like, I want to get the backflip. So yeah, share that story with us.
So my first experience wing foiling was in Hood River 2 summers ago, and I had a good friend James Ropner had a setup, and I'm staying with him, so free setup, no problem. I went out and tried it. It's a lot harder than I thought, so it took me 2 or 3 sessions to get up and get cruising. But once you do get cruising, there's no other feeling like it, and you got this cool towing device to tow into waves and the swell out there. So I was getting addicted to that, and also riding. I'm a pro kiteboarder and come from a kiteboard background. So kiteboarding is the main reason I was going out to Hood River. And then this winging thing kind of took over and became my new addiction and my new passion in a way as well. I still love kiteboarding, but you kind of, go out there and you see what the conditions are and you go either wing foiling or you go kiteboarding. So it's the best of both worlds. But, so learning there, kind of took off, and it's windy every day. So your progression level can progress very quickly there, or at a spot where it's windy every day, and you're just kind of Groundhog's Day kind of thing. So that being said, I got into it, came back to Florida, picked it up. I got a sinker board. And once I went to a sinker board, I never went back. That feeling of a smaller board is great. And something around a 60 liter is the sweet spot for me, best of both worlds, because you can get up in light wind and ride it in heavy wind. So,
and Gwen, you don't know, but before he was going to Hood River, he actually texted me and said, I'm going to land the backflip before Gwen. He actually was only going to Hood River to land the backflip before you.
That was my goal. Yeah. So I was going to get at, I had 2 goals when I went to Hood River, one for kiteboarding and one for winging. And the kiteboarding was going off a kick or a ramp at the park and landing a KGB. And then for winging, it was the backflip. And for some reason, the winging totally took over. My kiteboarding just kind of went out the window, and the winging was full on. I was dedicated. There was a really cool guy, Austin Kalama, was there. He was helping me out, in the process, riding in front of me, doing the flips, yelling at me what to do and what not to do after I would crash, repeatedly crash, one after another, 20, 30 crashes a session. It took me about 5 or 6 sessions to get the landing finally. So it's definitely a work in progress still, but the ramps and the kickers help a lot, and solid wind.
And for all those out there, Austin Kalama, his father, Dave Kalama, is a total legend. You should look him up. One of the most inspiring humans out there. Not to mention, Dave Kalama was one of the originals who was doing a lot of the foiling and SUP in the very beginning.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's a total legend. And shout out to Dave and Austin, great
Big
people.
time.
All right, so let's get into
So
Gwen.
something I want to share because like I was there, and I didn't have that intention of like, I mean, I want to learn the backflip, but I wasn't as dedicated as Kellen, and so I showed up, to Hood River, and here is Kellen, and it's like, it was like contagious, like I'm like, he's so into it, he's so dedicated, and it kind of like inspired me, but as well, Austin Kalama, which was amazing to see because often today, like you go on Instagram or whatever, and you see the riders, like the pro riders, like doing this amazing trick, and what you don't see is the work that led to this point. And
Yes.
so to me, like being there, seeing Kellen send it over and over again, relentlessly, and same with Austin, and it kind of like sometimes you get discouraged. You see it on Instagram, the guys are doing it, it seems almost like easy or whatever. You go out there and you crash so many times, and you're saying like, you know what, that's not for me, like I can't do it. And then that was like amazing to see and experience, to see them going over and over, because you realize like, you know what, it's just about like doing it until it doesn't matter how many times. Maybe some guys are gonna do it and they're gonna try once and they're gonna get it. Like I think I don't know, apparently like James Jenkins tried it once and he got it. It's amazing. But that's not very inspiring for everybody else, because you are like, it's gonna make you feel bad when you try it 100 times and you don't get it.
No, but
So-
you're so spot on, Gwen, because it's just like the jibe and the tack. People don't realize how many times you struggle to do it. So give me a number, Gwen and Kellen, estimates how many attempts before it started to kind of come together.
So it took the first session. I remember going out and being very anxious, intimidating, and just knowing that I need to get the wing out in front of me. And once I had about 2 or 3 crashes, it started to feel a lot better. And it took about 10 or 15 crashes to get good and almost have a landing. So the first session, I had a good rotation going and almost a landing on video. And that was one of the most important things. Is I had a buddy just relentless up there getting video of me every time I crashed. And then after my session, I'll go and get some water and some food real quick and watch that video, and then go back out there and try to knock it out and see what I was doing wrong. So that was a big one. But I had about 10 or 20 crashes before I started to get the rotation good. And then it took me about 5 or 6 sessions to finally stomp that landing and right away kind of be able to pump out of it. So I would say about 120 crashes about that. and maybe 10 close landings, like feeling like you're almost landing, but then you just you get pulled over, the wing pushes you over, or something happens. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I feel, and it's probably the same for me. I mean, I would say probably like, altogether about 100 crashes, but like the thing is, it might be very close, but it's still not there. It's like,
that's
even
the
though
tricky part about that, it's not there yet. For me, it's not there still. So, and
from like very close to like, like mastering it, there is so much work. It's insane. And so it's really about like, you just have to, do it over and over, and understand that like, even when you get close and you think like, okay, like, this is it, this is not it. Like there's still so much work ahead.
yes. And
but-
even for Austin Kalama and Chris McDonald, the guys out at Hood River, the pros, and then coming here and watching Andre and Liam, they're still landing, I would say, about 80 or 90% of their tricks. So that gives me good motivation to say, hey, each session, what's the percentage that I'm landing my tricks? Right now, it's about 30%. It isn't bad. So maybe 3 out of 10 I'm landing. So I'm making good progress each session. I look at it like that, and looking at these pros that keep crashing and they're trying front flips now, but each time they do that backflip, maybe 10 or 20%, they're not landing them. So that makes me feel a little more, better about, all right, I can go out there and land 20, 30% of my flips and feel good about that,
Let's first, I want to share this because I think this is awesome. I think it's perfect timing for this, but there's a little motivation from Mark Cuban, but work like there is someone working 24 hours a day to take it away from you. And I think that's kind of cool because it's like, it's just like wing foiling when you first start. You're like, man, this is hard. This is really hard. But if you keep staying at it, you keep working at it, you keep going, all of a sudden you're wing foiling. And then it's the same thing with the backflip. I mean, you guys are talking hundreds of attempts to then get one. Doesn't mean you get it, just means you're on the right path. And I love this for people out there because it's like, those videos you see or people doing amazing things, like they don't just do amazing things. For sure, there's talented people out there, probably Kai Lenny maybe or somebody like that. But technically, it takes work. I mean, they train super hard and just like you guys are doing. So, what I want to jump into, and this is, I'll go first to Kellen and then I'll go to Gwen because you guys are both, absolutely crushing it right now. How do you take your mind and go, okay, I have this fear of I can knock myself out, the foil could cut me, these things that go through your head when you try a backflip or you try any trick, we'll call it, that you're working on. What's your process to maybe overcome that fear? Because the reason I want to bring this up is there's a lot of people that have a fear of just being on foil and something goes wrong. And so what's your thought process behind that? How do you kind of slowly overcome that?
I would say that overcoming it is to do it and trial and error. Once you get one or two in, I felt a lot better on bringing the wing around. I would say the biggest fear I have, and Gwen got a couple really good videos of it, him calling it decapitation. But, it looked like on video the foil was going to come down and pretty much hit me in the head, but it's right in front of me or downwind of me, luckily. And I have a helmet on for sure. So a helmet's a really good thing. Safety first, impact vest, and that helps out. But once you get some flips under your belt, I would say you're going to feel a lot more comfortable, less anxious of the foil hitting you, the front winger, stabilizer, or the board, and then ripping the wing. I would say ripping the wing is my biggest fear. But
because that means you can't try it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Your session's over short. So
that's why he uses my wing.
Yes.
So then that fear of breaking the wing that disappear because
it's better.
It's not his.
Is that because Gwen's wing is full of tape?
Oh yeah, maybe multiple rips I did, and one time I ripped it twice, 2 different sections, and I was like, Gwen, what should I do? But get you another one or what?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Gwen, how do you overcome your, like when you go into these things? What is your brain? What's clicking?
For sure it is scary, and I mean, I'm talking for me. Maybe there are guys out there that are like pros and they send backflips and they are not scared and whatever. But for me, like there is always that like anxious feeling, right before you are about to get to it. So like, let's say you get super motivated, you watch videos on backflips, and you are like, this is it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out there. You feel confident. You feel strong. You get to the beach and you realize, dang, the wind is good, the kicker is good, it's happening. And now you start freaking out because it's really like, that's okay, now I have to do it. I have like no excuse, I'm facing it. And so, it's kind of like, slowly get confident. So maybe if you are like, if you are very scared, like what I do is, I go out there and I don't put pressure on myself. I'm like, I don't tell myself today I'm landing one. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to see how it feels. And so I do, I cruise around, I see a kicker, maybe I jump, I don't really send it. I just, slowly gain some confidence and like, immerse myself in that environment and be like, okay, it's cool, just like, it's not like too hostile, like you can, be here and it's, it's okay. And so, then once you finally get the courage to like send it, you do, and you fall and you realize like, okay, that was not too bad. I survived it. And so then slowly you start gaining confidence. The hard thing is like, especially with the backflips. It's like, you go upside down and you kind of like lose, like awareness of where you are in space. You pretty much what you do is like you get all your energy together, you see the kicker, and boom, you send it, you close your eyes, and you hope everything is going to be fine. That's how it goes the first
I
few
call it the
times.
blackout. I black out. At my first like 2 or 3 sessions, I was just blacking out. Every time I go, I would end up crashing. I would go, all right, just what happened? I didn't have any visual there at all. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so if you do it enough, you start, you just start getting used to that situation. So slowly, you don't freak out as much, and you start being aware of what's happening. Okay, right now I'm upside down. Where is the landing? You start to be able to like see it, and so slowly that awareness and that focus, puts the fear kind of like away, because now you are kind of like your mind is busy focusing on, this is what I have to do. This is the kicker. This is how, the technique is running through your mind. And so the fear has less, the fear is kind of like, always there. There's always, part of it, but you can replace it with, being focused on the task. And then that's kind of, to me, that's kind of how you overcome it, is one, put in the time, and then two, start focusing on what you are doing and being present, rather than, when you black out. And that's kind of like the
You're
scary
not really
part.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So-
sure. I would say keeping it consistent is one of the best things you could do. If you could just keep going after it day after day as much as you can, the fear factor and that anxious feeling goes away a bit. So that's a good thing.
What's spectacular to me is, I'm sitting in Florida. There's not much wind. It's pretty hot, and so I'm watching all this go down just through normal channels like everybody sees out there, and it's very inspiring to me, because what I'm noticing is, I look at different things, but a lot of people may look at this when you're involved in something, you really are passionate about it. But what I've noticed is, a lot of people are starting to do the backflips. Now the good people doing the backflips are starting to land catching the wind with the wing on the way down. So they're doing these backflips instead of just like slamming into the water. Their
Yep.
wings are like grabbing them, and it's like this cushion, and they almost like land really soft. And it's kind of shocking to me, because when I look back on it, I was like, oh, backflips just, you just send it and it's just like gonna land hard no matter what. And now like there's all these evolutions of where it's going to, where people are doing the spins and they're landing softly, and the wings are catching them now. And it's just a progression of just being even better and better and better, and using the wind to now make these things possible. And I just look at like how fresh this sport is. And for all those that are just, whether it's a tack or a jibe or a turn or toe side, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Like, you still have these fears you got to overcome. And just like Gwen and Kellen, it's like the little baby steps to just keep being present and working on it. And all of a sudden you'll be doing 360s and potentially backflips and all this stuff like these guys, because it's just a matter of believing in it, keep working at it, and then all of a sudden here it happens. And I think fear is such a scary thing in anything in life, and it's funny because it's always there when you like, many times you're like, oh yeah, I would just do this or this. I'll go talk to the girl. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to talk to her. I'm a little scared to walk over there. It's like back in the day, that little, but yet to your friends, I'm going to talk to her every day. Like, whatever, I'll go over there. No problem. Right?
But so, there is like different levels. And then I want to touch on quickly what you said, because we were talking about it with Kellen on the beach. We were like, it's so funny today, this day we are like, so like stoked when we land a backflip. And then we were like, maybe in a few years, the backflip would be the equivalent of like the back roll in, everybody's like, that's, it's cool, but it's like everybody's doing it. So it is progressing. And it's kind of that for like the pros, at the top level, the backflip is kind of like,
That's the first move to land kind of thing.
Pretty small thing to do. But what's interesting about the fear is, we just talked about like, the physical fear. You are going to do something extreme, and you have the fear of being hurt, which is a legit feeling, because you have that foil over your head. It might come and you might get hurt. But there is another part of like the fear, is fear of failing, fear of being judged for trying something, failing, and looking ridiculous. So you kind of like expose yourself to that as well, to some degree. If you are going to do something new, and then people might judge you, being like, why why are you even trying a backflip? I mean, you are not good enough to do a backflip, or like things like that. So for you, Kellen, like what would you say, like your main motivation for doing the backflip? What is driving you to get that so bad?
Just the
Because Gwen was
challenge.
thinking about doing it. It's simple.
Yeah, Gwen. We all had a bet, right? Damien and Gwen, we had a bet going who was going to land it first. So that was number one there.
That's simple, Gwen. That's a stupid question. I mean, Kellen literally was like, "I got this."
Yeah. No, I think the challenge of it, and it's just being so new, and the new addiction of being able to ride waves on the wing, and what else can you do with it? And then when I heard Kyle say on his video that, it was starting to get boring because all the sports he does, he likes to do flips. So I go, well, I like to do flips too. So why not get the backflip down on the wing and then go from there and see if I can do it. And it's just wonders that you and I landed in so many this summer at Hood River, and it's just going to get better and better. So
did you hear that? The whole world, he said, Gwen and him, not this dude right here sitting in Florida, 0. Zero.
Well, this winter, but it is super helpful to like, do it with somebody, and because
I love
if you are like alone, you're doing it, it's gonna take a lot more self motivation, self drive, to be able to get it. When you go through that journey with somebody, it helps so much. One, giving feedback to each other, and two, like feeding from each other's motivation. Okay, he's going out, he's sending it, I need to do it as well. So building that community and supporting each other, to me, it's so important.
Sure.
Not to be, it's not a competition. I'm not going to be mad if Kellen is doing it like cooler than I do. Like it's supporting each other, and if we support each other, then we both going to be better. It's not a competition in like an unhealthy way. It can be a fun competition, but still in a positive, supporting, encouraging way.
I'm probably more stoked here in Florida without doing them for you two right now. Like, you don't even know. When I saw him, Gwen's like post up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, he did it. And then like that same Kellen had his sent me a little message, and he's like full GoPro on board, and it's like full slow. I was like, oh my gosh, Kellen's got it. Holy geez. But for all those whippersnappers out there, because I'm 41, I'm getting old, but all I can say is a lot of times when you're going through life, career, sports, whatever it may be, sometimes you get stagnant and you just do the same tricks over and over and over, or you do the same things over and over. There is nothing wrong with that. But there is something to say that every once in a while, it's nice to open the door and always be learning, because that learning process is what keeps it fresh. It's kind of like, literally this conversation, Kellen loves kiteboarding. It's amazing. We all love it. It's one of the most spectacular sports, but sometimes that learning curve may not happen as quick because you've learned a lot through certain areas of kite surfing. So for him, he's learning a lot more in winging. And I only say this because like with life, I feel like always having like little things that you want to learn, whether it's music, whether it's whatever, whether it's, try a different foil, see what that feels like. It may not be the right one, but those are those little things that like spark all these little things that can change really unique things in life. And I think, more importantly, the whole message here, which is brilliant, is, Kellen and Gwen were together motivating each other. This wing foiling, this whole community, this is what people do. It's like the most motivating sport you can do. For anybody that's listening, that's like literally thinking about it, you go to the beach and talk to somebody and they'll be like, hey, try my wing, try this, do this. I mean, it's so friendly. It's spectacular.
It's unreal. Yeah, it's so cool. The community. I was going to say that the community is unreal. How I learned this summer in Hood River, how everyone's at a different level, right? But when you come back to the beach or you crash or you stop next to each other, you still have the same and share the same stoke. So that's the coolest thing ever, that you're so pumped up together and you're like, all right, I just made my first turn, or I just went upwind for my first time, or I just landed my first backflip, or I heard a guy when I first got to the hat tree my second day at Hood River and I was just by myself, Gwen wasn't around yet. And he goes, I just landed my first flocka. And I just thought in my head and laughed, and I go, that's Gwen's move. He made that up. But, you know, it's international. It's so cool how we're the coolest community, and winging and kiteboarding are kind of similar like that, where we're helping each other out. Like I just went to, you know, Chris McDonald, he's like 16, you know, and I'm 37. I'm asking advice from a 16-year-old, and I was thinking to myself, all right, this kid is, you know, definitely next level on a different planet doing these tricks and all this stuff. But he still shared all of his info with me and all the knowledge that he had to help me land the backflip. And same with Austin Kalama and everyone that I asked, you know, they were all very generous. And that's the coolest part about this sport. Doesn't matter what level you're at or what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just mowing the yard, going out there trying to go upwind and go back and forth, cruise around, or, you know, push yourself to land a flip or a 360, a flocka, whatever you're doing, you know, more power to you. Just keep at it and don't give up, because it's a work in progress. And it took me and Gwen, and it takes anybody a certain amount of times to land a flip. There might be a couple people, that 5% out there in the world, that might land a flip their first time, or that turn, or, you know, that trick the first time. But you just keep pushing at it, whoever you are, and you're going to succeed. I guarantee it. Because I never thought I'd be landing a flip like I am. And just yesterday, I was almost landing flips flat water for my first time. So it's like, just keep going at it, you know, and that's what life's all about. On and off the water, try to be the best guy you can be, or the best person you can be. And that's all you can do. Just, you know, live
it.
And
if that's not inspiring, done.
Yeah. And don't compare yourself. Like you said, Kellen, like, you know, it might, you know, for somebody, it might take, you know, a year of relentlessly trying. And for somebody else, it might take once. And if you just compare, you know, there's so many factors that come into play, from, you know, your previous experience or whatever, or like you just natural ability to do something specific. You know, we are all different. So in the end, you still have to focus on yourself. And even though, you know, there is that community, and that community is here to like help you in your journey, but it's not your, like, that community is not your journey. You know, it's your own journey, and the community is here to support it. And so, yeah, don't compare yourself.
I was comparing myself at the beginning. I was watching videos, and this kid, pro from Maui, Finn Spencer, he was doing a video, and he said, all right, my second day I landed my flips. And I was going, all right, I should do it in 2 days, right? And it maybe took me 6 days. But don't compare yourself. Gwen's totally right. Be your own person, have your own style, and go for it, you know.
And you guys are so spot on. This drives right into a really good point, and this is just one that we should always say, because we've said it many times before, but I think it's very powerful. And that is, you know, no matter what you do, we can say the backflip here, but let's just say life. Don't go into a paddleboard adventure, the backflip, flockas, the tack, jive, whatever it may be, going to school. Don't put an expectation or a I have to land it today. Go into it as like, okay, I've prepared myself. I got my motions I'm going to work on, or I've learned what I can learn on the music, and now I'm going to try this on the guitar. But if you put an expectation, you may get let down, and that's when it really brings you down. So try to go into things with an open mind, be present. I think Gwen said that earlier. It's like so spot on, because then, you know, if you put an expectation like I'm going to pass this or win this or do this, you can definitely get hit harder. Like I think mentally put down, and I'm over it. I'm not going to try it again. And I think in life that happens a lot. And I find myself, you know, my wife jokes a lot, but a lot of times we'll go, you know, on an adventure, and it's like perfect win. I'm like, we got to bring all the wing gear, because maybe you can learn how to wing. You know, we go, and I have like everything in the car, bikes, whatever, because like if it's not quite right, we'll morph into biking, or we'll morph into diving, or we'll morph into something, because I'd rather just create the journey, whatever that may be. But I'm not expecting that I'm going to go try the backflip that day on the wing because I could bite because the wing could die or something. But I just thought I would tap on that because I think it's an important one.
For sure. Do everything.
Yeah, I think it's important to find satisfaction from the journey. So to me, that's how I feel, is like, when I go out there and I did a session and I did like so many backflips, not quite landing them, but I was so close or whatever, and I'm like, I'm stoked. Like, that's the journey. Like, yeah, maybe I can't like say like I landed and won this session, but I'm like, I did it. I went out there and I have that satisfaction of like,
Yeah.
I went out there, I tried, I put in the time, and that's so satisfying. So I think it's important to make sure your satisfaction doesn't only come from the end success. Yeah, the result.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a drink, right? And just being able to have a sip of it. That's like the taste you get when you almost land a flip. It's like, ooh, I just had a little sip of that drink, but pretty soon I'm going to get to have as much as I want once you start stomping them. So it's like total satisfaction, even though you aren't landing the flip or whatever trick you're trying. Each time you get closer and closer, it's that much better for sure.
Are you saying, Kellen, you're drinking while you're doing backflips? Is that what we're? Is
All
that the trick?
All the time, though. As much water as I can get out here.
Yeah, exactly. Man, wow, how inspiring, guys! I'm so pumped for you guys. As you dig deeper into mental or to dig into your, I guess, further into your brain. How many people come up to you guys, and I'm just curious because I think it'd be neat to share, but how many people come up to you guys and they say, wow, that foil does this and whatever, and they're so fearful of it, or they're nervous of what could happen. And what would be your advice for somebody that may be thinking that or asking that? And the only reason I say that is, sometimes we always talk about just taking the one step, whatever it is, just take a step outside or take a step. I'm going to go ask somebody about wing foiling, but what would be your first, I guess, if somebody came up to you and they're like, wow, that's just super crazy dangerous. I mean, would it be like hand them the wing? Would it be like watch a couple videos? I mean, what would be your advice to somebody that asks you that question when they're very fearful of just why would you even do this sport?
I've had a couple of people this summer in Hood River ask me this, and then I just, go back with saying, hey, what are you having a fear with? Are you coming up out of the water a lot, or are you almost hitting yourself when you're turning? What's going on? And then maybe help them set the track back a little bit so you don't have as much lift, or tell them to have a smaller size wing maybe if they're going too fast. So try to find out what the symptom is that they're having trouble with, and then help them out that way, kind of thing. But safety first, I would say a helmet, an impact vest for sure, or a life jacket to start out, and then an impact vest once you get better. But it's good to have flotation, a wetsuit, or some leggings or something. If you're in cold water, that's good. But any kind of padding helps at the beginning, and then you can push away from that stuff. But yeah,
I would say, often like the fear is based on something that you project yourself in a situation. So let's say you have a fear, like you want to try to jump off the cliff with your parachute, but you are like very scared. Well, that's because you are projecting yourself to that very moment when you're going to run off and jump. So the first step would be like, okay, let me take a step closer to the cliff and spend some time there and see how it feels. And then, okay, I'm calm down, I'm good, I realize I'm safe, I take another step and I get closer to the cliff and I see how it is. So I would say it's kind of it's the same process. If you are scared of like foiling, maybe you visualize yourself like up on foil going fast, and no, maybe take a big burn, take a big foil, go out there, cruise, not even on foil, and then slowly you're going to get used to that, and that fear is going to go away, and then maybe you're going to get up on foil very easy. I would say fear could be like maybe if you had a bad experience and like you wanted to learn how to foil, and you went behind your friend's boat that had a tiny foil and went so fast and you crashed, and the crash was really bad. So I would say there is ways, if you take it step by step and you go into it easy, no expectation, and maybe you just even show up to the beach and you are like, what, today is not the day, I don't feel it. Well, show up the next day at the beach and maybe that is your first step, is being at the beach and feeling, that's doesn't feel too scary. And it's really about like getting yourself into that process as slow as it works for you. Like maybe somebody show up to the beach, not scared, go in the water, foil. Maybe that's not you. Maybe for you, it requires you to go to the beach 7 times before you even go in the water. That's cool. Like,
I love this because this relates right to this, which is pretty wild. I was just in Rhode Island for an event this past weekend, and we were with lift foils doing some stuff with e-foils, and I get all the time. So like there's the big e-foil, and then there's like the medium, and everybody buys the medium, and then like I don't want to start on the big one. I just want to go to the medium because it's what everybody's going to be on. And I like always pull it back, and I'm like, but you could have a great experience right off the bat. Like you're saying, the big board, the big foil, go slow, learn it. You can always go to the Ferraris. Like you can go there, but have a great opening experience versus going to something where you just might just be totally deflated and be done. And I feel like it's a perfect scenario to that is, like you said, you can manifest or visualize yourself foiling, going 100 miles an hour and doing backflips, but is that reality? Or I could just pull it back and get a big board, a big foil, and get just build my way into it. So I don't over push my fear to where I'm like totally over this because I just freak myself out. Same thing with the e-foil. It's like, if you take a bigger board, it's really easy to learn it, and it's more stable, more volumes, vice versa. Same with wing foiling. And I always I get that question so much, and we even get it with the wing foiling. Everybody's like, oh man, I got to go to this medium board because I don't want to have 100 boards. And it's like, I get it, but put your time in on the big board, and then it ends up, like Kellen said, his best size is like 60-liter size for him, and that's still not saying it's a big board, but it's not the 30-40 liter that everybody thought we were all going to be on. So it's changing.
Yeah, I agree. I think bigger is better to start, and then go sportier after you get the rides and can go upwind and make your turns. But I hear a lot of people on the beach and spots saying that they're going to outgrow the board too fast, but then I'll go back and say, hey, it's good for a light wind. So if you do want to ride light winds and you just want to get out there and have fun, that big board is always going to be easier and get you out there. If it's kind of washing machine conditions or whatever that's going on, bigger board, 80 to 100 liters, is always going to be a good board to have in your quiver forever. And then you get a smaller board for those higher wind conditions or when you get better or something, but yeah, I agree. Bigger is better and easier. It's kind of like multitasking. So you want to make it easier on yourself at the beginning. So spot on, Damien.
So this is an exciting one. This is a question I have literally had written down that I really want to ask you guys, because you're in the gorge, Gwen, and you're in Hawaii now, Kellen. So tell the world how many people are foiling in Hawaii when you go to the beaches. Like, is it a couple, 2, 3 foils? Is it 5 surfers? Is it how many wing foilers? How many kite foilers? Like what's happening there?
I would say in Hood River, it's such a cool sport to cross over for windsurfing. So windsurfers love it when it's blowing, say 20 to 50 or 20 to 40, 30 plus kind of thing. So you see a lot of the windsurfers winging now. So I would say there's 50 to 100 wingers on a good 15 to 25 mile an hour day. And then once it puffs up, you'll see half of those wingers go to windsurfing. But yeah, it's crazy, right, Gwen?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like everybody's on a foil now, like whether it's with a kite or with a wing, or in Hood River, something that's getting more popular as well is the downwind stand-up paddle foiling, and now the rock start is starting to get I mean, not as popular right now because it's pretty difficult, but you start off from a rock and then you go and you do a downwind there. It seems like everything right now is kind of on the foil, and it is pretty we see
when I saw
less.
that, the rock start is very unique, and I think that's something you have to work for. But when I saw that live, Austin Kalama was the first person I saw do that. I was blown away. I'm like, what is going on? He just went from a rock, and now he's out there in the swell doing a downwinder. And he's just doing one after another, doing little circles. And
I think it's, I mean, this is specific to, Hood River, but I do think there is amazing opportunities with that principle. I mean, I'm even thinking like, at the beach, and there is some swell, there's some waves, but it's not really breaking, so you can't really catch it prone. Now, maybe you can get out there and ride, this swell. The opportunities are like mind blowing.
What about in Hawaii, Kellen? Are you seeing lots of foils?
Lots of foils here. There's
Like
different
surfing still
sections.
Hawaii, but like
At Kanaha, you got the different sections. So at Lowers, where Old Man's is, you got a lot of kiters still and kite foilers riding very small kites. Usually, I just saw some ladies and some guys riding 5s and 6s yesterday, like it was a regular day on the foils.
Yep.
And then you still got about 50% or twin tippers there. But then when you go to uppers at Kanaha, it's all wingers. So you got about 50. It was a slow day yesterday, but about 50 to 100 wingers up there mixed in with windsurfers. So it's definitely taken over, and it's really cool to see kind of the different sections. You got kiters down there, then you got the wingers and windsurfers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool.
Wow.
So, and then Damien, you're in Florida. What's happening in Florida right now?
So there's about 0 wingers at the beach. You can burn your feet off walking across the beach. So if anybody's going to Florida, feel free to make sure to wear sandals and socks when you walk across the beach, because it's about 400 degrees. And more than likely, winging is going to be on the minimal. There probably won't be anybody out there. No, it's a little light the summer times here in Florida, but lots of things to do. But just enjoying the time with the family. But we got to jump into our Patron group here. So for $5, you can support the channel. Really, we just want to share beautiful messages like this, and super congratulations to Gwen and Kellen for landing all these tricks and sharing their insight in this show on kind of just fear and overcoming it, and how much work goes into accomplishing something. I think it was said in this, which is just spectacular, but it's like, people always see like that spectacular clip. And I'm going to say this because this is rad. So, in social media, you see some amazing whatever, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. That guy just did that. But how many attempts or tries or things to accomplish that, like, is never shown. And it takes a lot to learn these things. And I go back to a clip that like literally has changed what we all are doing right now. And it would be Kai Lenny. I think it was Chopu or Tahiti or wherever it was. And he rode a foil and he pumped out the back and caught another wave. That was like mind blowing to the world. Like, here you can ride a wave and go get on another. Like, that was like ding. And then here we are now. There's all this stuff going on with foiling and America's Cups with all the foils. I just think it's so cool, and it's so neat to see things change and grow
and also become accessible. I mean, this was Kai Lenny, and now you go to the beach and you see everybody doing it. So, and that that comes from also like the evolution of the gear, making it like more accessible for everybody. But that's the exciting part. It's like, this is an opportunity not only for Kai Lenny, it's an opportunity for everybody.
I agree. It's achievable for anybody.
Oh.
And on that note, we're going to jump into our Patron show. So everybody out there, look, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for shining the light and helping our fellow wingers and friends and kiters and e-foilers and whatever. We love you guys. Kellen, dude, I can't thank you more. I remember the day that I was doing a demo. I finished the demo and you said, I need to learn a slim chance. And I sat in the water and I was like, you should do this. And he went out, and it was like the first time he did a slim chance. And I was just like, holy geez,
it.
It was awesome. So now we're going to flip that. When you come to Florida, I'm going to go, okay, Kellen, I need to do the backflip.
And then you're going to land it right in front of him.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it'll be 120, 40,000 attempts. But on that note, thank you, Kellen. Thank you, Gwen, for sharing that message. Everybody out there, have a beautiful Thursday. Have a wonderful weekend. We love you. Have a great one.
See you guys.